absent. We assume he'll be back at the next meeting. We can't guarantee it's going to be voted yes. You can take what
Well, I think
assurances
pretty
you
much-
have.
Well,
I'm just
I
telling
was
you.
going to say, I would
It's
hope
not-
that this is done.
Until the
Like,
votes-
resolution I'm hoping is going to be, here's the corrected bill, and yes, we're going to issue the refund.
We may actually, though, have to have you petition to correct the tax roll now, because this was on the budget and it's in the tax roll, so you may have to go through that process with the Board of Assessment review.
No, but it's not an assessment issue.
It is because it's on the tax roll, but it's a mistake, so pursuant to
Right.
section 554 of the real property tax law, they can petition for a correction to the tax roll. That's not something that you guys can do, that has to
Yeah.
come from the Board of Assessment review.
Right, but if
We'll
we
send a
passed a
But
resolution, it
first, you
would
need to pass the
strengthen
resolution
their
saying that it was
position, right.
mistakenly included in the district.
Right.
Okay,
So it's a couple of steps, but
okay.
Okay.
But we
Thank-
can, we'll go down that path.
Yes.
Do we have to be at the next meeting for that resolution?
No.
Okay, so I'll be in touch with you after that meeting.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great
you.
evening.
Can I say something? Do not miss the deadline in May for grievance. In other words, there's a form you have to fill out. So what I'm telling you to do is, you pick up a grievance form, and you go through the assessor's office and the Board of Assessors,
He has to come to the mic. He has to go to the mic.
okay.
and they will decide on it.
Thanks, Tony. Thank you.
That's important.
Thank you. Anybody else? Joyce?
So it's an erroneous assessment?
I have no property on or near the sewer district, so this is not personal, but just listening as to what I've heard here, and this is crazy off the head question, but is it possible to treat the sewer rights for individuals like this, individual owners that want to opt out, to treat it like carbon credits? To find a nearby business maybe that does want to opt in, that isn't in the district, as long as it's technically feasible to connect them up, to do some kind of trade-off like that? Is that a concept that's worth pursuing?
No, well, basically, if we exempted them from the district, the flow, the extra flow would go into the flow
pool.
bank, okay?
Yeah, it
And then further development would be able to, request that additional flow. Anybody who's let out of the sewer district, their flow is no longer allocated, and it goes into this pool of extra flow we have for the future commercial development. So they wouldn't have to trade off, because if they got out, there's a lot of supply out there and not a lot of demand for this additional flow.
I see. Well, I thought just in the case there were any small businesses out of the district that would ask to go in, that might be something that could be considered. I don't know if it's
Well,
legally possible or not.
I mean, I think what we're talking about is physically possible at this point because the sewer line is constructed. So the sewer line is where the sewer line is. And all of the properties, within a certain parameter of Route 52, on Route 52 have been included. So it's not like we skipped over somebody and all the developed properties have been given a lateral. One undeveloped property has been given a lateral, and
So that's not a solution.
it's not a solution.
Sorry.
Well, it was a good idea, but
Yes, my name is Doug Holly. I'm
Hi,
a
Doug.
broker in the town of Kent. And just as an example, I have a piece of property
you have to talk in the
that
mic.
has a flow usage, I think about 400 and something gallons per day. They would love to be able to get like 5 times that amount. So my belief is that with the economy, you're not going to see a lot of commercial growing, but it will grow. And like I said, I'm working on something right now where I'd like to be able to get 5 times that amount of flow, but we're restricted to 400 and something gallons.
But
So,
you're not, you're restricted by the current law, but the law sets up a mechanism, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, where we can allocate to each individual
that's what I'm
property
saying. I
more
think it's-
flow. So
yeah.
as soon as you want more,
yeah.
as soon as you want more
well,
flow,
I'm happy
please,
for
because
that.
that'll
So
make
people
our.
that opt out,
sure you
people that want to opt out, fine, because there's a lot of people that could use that extra amount.
Well,
Well, then that might be the solution.
Well, that's my hope, is that the residential districts who this, affects inequitably affects, their flow goes back into the general pot, and that allows more flow available for the commercial districts or commercial
Yeah.
buildings that will come on.
Like I said, when I read in the paper, I thought that was a great idea, that people that want to opt out, commercial can
Well,
up their,
Why don't you
water flow.
you can send a letter to me, and I'll send it to the other board members,
Oh, yeah,
listing
we
which
will.
your property
Doc?
is and what your interest is.
Will this business that you're working on be able to pay for the extra flow?
Yes.
Okay, because we're getting some businesses now that want to opt out.
Right. I can understand why residential hurts them, but for commercial, they need the septic, they need the water flow. If it's a restaurant, they use a lot of water, and you can't really do anything with 400 gallons a day.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Anthony A. Sclafani. I might have worded it wrong last time. I said I wanted to opt out. But then I thought about it. Do I want to opt out? Because I cannot opt in. I have nothing. No facilities. So really, I can't opt in. I'm a very unique situation. I have the lateral right in front of my place. It has been my experience in towns that have sewer districts. If you have a lateral, but you're not in the district, you pay a fee. If and when you tie in, it's at your expense to tie in. I have a situation, someone was out for 12 years, maybe 20 years, but it aggravated him that he had to pay this fee every year. He paid a fee, nothing. Well, he decides he's going to opt in. He wants his money's worth. So he opted in. Now he pays for the sewer district and the water district. I had him set up, he paid, like this gentleman says, no septic. We just pumped it. And we repaired the well. And that was it. It was a free thing. So, as you said before, there is a fee to have the lateral, but you can't charge
Service.
for the service or the units, no matter how you change it on the paper. They're not there.
I think
So-
we're looking at that, yes.
All right, so you decide whether I want in or out. I don't intend to put anything on there at this time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You have a tough job. I wouldn't want to be in your seat.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Sclafani.
Mr. Sclafani.
Anyone else? Great. Okay, next item's a little easier. The planning board has sent us a couple of packets. They would like us to release a surety performance bond in the amount of $85,000 to Wells Fargo Insurance Services, and they would like for us to provide a waiver of the $11,334 erosion control bond for Seven Hills Lake. The third item, the extension of the site plan approval for the Holmes Presbyterian Conference Center, really isn't an item for the town board. That's solely a planning board issue, so I'm removing that from the,
You taking that one out?
I'm taking that one out, and I'd like to also take it out of the meeting section, D, 3D. Does anybody want any discussion of these?
No.
There was a waiver of an erosion control bond. It was,
The dam, right? You know,
just get to the exact, blah, blah, blah.
It's the dam, right?
Yeah, the
The
dam
dam.
rehabilitation by DEP. Sure.
So am I hearing that DEP is asking for a waiver of the erosion control bond requirement that the town has?
It said, New York State DEP has been working with the planning board to get approvals for the freshwater wetland permit and steep slope and erosion control permits for rehabilitation of the dam located at Seven Hills Lake.
But they started dam work on the portion of their, the property owner, I'm a member of the Seven Hills Homeowners Property Association. As an unintended consequence of the New York City watershed land acquisition program, they acquired Mosier's property, I think it was, and in that action, acquired part of the dam. Under the DEP regulations to upgrade all the dams from Class A, Class B, and I don't speak to all the ins and outs of it, our dam has to be upgraded. We're co-owners. We were not, under the auspices of the law, identified as a co-owner at the time or notified that we now own a piece of property with the DEP. Theirs is a very small part. Theirs holds the most damage and the most risk. So they are repairing their portion right now of our collective property. They're cutting in a road, they're cutting down trees so that they don't have to drive over our dam and impede, the structure of it or in any way impact it to get to theirs. But I don't understand why they would ask for an erosion control waiver. I mean, it's erosion control into our lake.
The sentence that says, DEP requested to waive a cash bond for the project, as is their practice with other projects.
Oh,
Some-
cash bond. They want a waiver of the bond.
Cash bond for this
Not
project.
the erosion control,
No, the cash bond.
just the cash bond.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because they do have to put up the curtains and all the, the what's it called?
Right, the performance bond, yeah.
So they're not gonna put up a bond for the erosion control, they're just gonna do the erosion control?
Right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make
Right.
sure, to protect our dam.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to be clear, they are putting in the erosion control?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
because they have heavy equipment there now, they're cutting trees. I have not seen an erosion control.
Oh, no,
plan.
and they're guaranteeing the work. They're just not putting up an $11,000.
Gotcha, okay, I just want to clarify.
Keep an eye on them, Gene.
I have a question.
Keep an eye on them, I pass them every day.
What would, so they're giving us this letter, and instead of putting up the 11 grand? Would we allow a private person doing the same work to submit a letter instead of putting up the money?
I would hope that when the Seven Hills Property Owners Association has to repair their portion of the dam, we would be given the same concern.
No, yeah, it's striking
We're
that New York,
127 homeowners, we don't have that money.
New York City, behind the well-thought-out sewer district, wants to skirt every other inconvenient situation for themselves.
Well, I would just hope if you give it to them, you give it to the homeowners for the
Which-
same dam.
Any other discussion? Police consolidation. I was asked to put this on the workshop agenda because anybody that reads the paper is aware that the town board of the town of Carmel has written a letter to the county executive copying the Putnam County legislators, Putnam County supervisors and mayors, and for some reason, the chair of the Conservative Party for the town and the Conservative Party for the county, and Anthony Scannapieco, the chair, and the Republican Party.
Was the
and-
Democrat Party chair copied?
No, as a matter of fact, nor was the Independence Party, the Green Party.
Just the conservatives and the Republicans.
Just the conservatives and the Republicans. Basically asking that the county executive consider establishing a special task force to include himself, Supervisor of Carmel, Town Councilman John Lupinacci, and any other individuals designated by your office charged with studying and researching the feasibility of merging law enforcement agencies in Putnam County, creating a countywide police model of law enforcement. The town board's request is prompted by a desire to maintain Carmel's excellent police services, but simultaneously address the financial pressures facing communities such as ours that have found the fiscal obligation of operating an independent police department unsustainable to our constituents. Interestingly enough, he didn't copy his chief of police either on this. So after receiving this letter, I forwarded this letter to our town's chief of police and had a discussion both with our chief of police and with the county executive. And I know that this has been an issue that has come up in our town countless times. The idea of, disbanding our police department, we'll get to people, having our town serviced, solely by the sheriff's department and state police as other towns without police departments in the county. And I know that there are very strong feelings both ways on this issue. I know that there are people in this town that believe that, we are very lucky to have the quality of police department that we have and wouldn't trade having one even for the extra expense that it adds to our town budget. And there are people that say other towns are serviced by the sheriff's department, and the burden of supporting a police department is lifted from their shoulders economically. I think that, so just in terms of future developments, I have been contacted and I have discussed this issue with the county executive, and she is holding a meeting on March 30th, which is going to include mayors and supervisors of all the towns in Putnam County, the sheriff, and the police chiefs of the various police departments within the county. Because something that the county executive mentioned to me as her idea for a first step is there is 150 million, I said 1,000 once, and I kind of had to think twice, dollars in the governor's budget for consolidation studies. And she thinks that this might be a good time to study consolidation, not just of police departments, but of other departments in towns and agencies, to see how, we as a county and as separate towns could save money, and whether we can consolidate different offices as well, like receiver of taxes, for example, the assessor function. There are a lot of functions in town governments that may be able to be shared. The police issue, obviously, is very complex. And I think that, people might have a gut feeling about it, but there are so many issues that this brings up. Like, if we did consolidate our police, would existing police forces be absorbed into the sheriff's department? Would there be, something that was kind of pointed out to me, how would police be stationed, or sheriff's deputies, whatever they would be called, within the county? How exactly would this work? And the reality of the situation is that even after we conduct any kind of, or, if we can get grant money to conduct a study of this type of consolidation, this issue then comes before the town board, and then it's subject to a permissive referendum. And I can absolutely guarantee that in the town of Kent, it would come to a referendum. And I think that ultimately, that's the way the issue should be decided. I think it should be decided by a vote of the people. But I think that it shouldn't be decided by a vote of the people before we actually have the information. I don't think this should ever be, a knee-jerk, yes, we love it, no, we hate it, and let's go to the polls. I think we really have to understand the bigger picture, and then I think, an informed community is the community then that decides the issue, feasibility study or not. Personally, I was glad it was suggested that we put this on the agenda because I think it's something, clearly, since we do have a police department that people in this town are definitely affected by and definitely have to think about. But I think at this point, there's no real action, that we as a town would take other than, kind of continuing to discuss the issue and clearly, I'll keep everyone apprised of what happens at these meetings because I think the public has a right to know at every step of the way. So I would leave it open to the town board for further discussion.
Alex, are you planning to attend this meeting?
Yes.
Any comments from the audience? Everybody come on up if you want to come.
Hi, Jim Kirk, Lake Como. Is this going to be a consolidation with the sheriff's department? Because that was not my understanding of the way I read the letter. This was going to be a separate force?
My
don't
understanding would be a separate force that the sheriff is mandated.
Don't know.
The sheriff is mandated to do certain things. So, the jail and civil type stuff. So, but this would, in theory, take the police work out of the sheriff's department and put it into some sort of administrative county new, type of function. It's Westchester County model, if that excites you.
Not at all. Okay. Until I get more information, really.
No, that's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I think this is just in such a, a rudimentary stage that kind of nobody even understands what this suggestion is, other than we can't afford our police force, let's do something, for the people of Carmel. John?
All right. I've been paying close attention to this. Unfortunately, even with all the radio ads that are talking about this already, the newspapers, all the advertising, I'm already hearing through different channels, they already know who the chief and the commissioner of this thing is going to be. Come on. You got a police department that's about $9 million.
Do you think his name is on this paper,
It
John?
got that way because the people who legislate for that town let it get that way. I called and I talked to our chief of police today, all right? And through negotiations over the past years, does anybody have a clue what our police department actually costs? When you break it down based on their budget, divided by the number of taxable parcels, it equals $1.51 a day per person in this town. All right, that's a cup of coffee a day. We now have the accountability of holding this town board accountable for our police department's actions. If we go to a county model, we're now a little very small piece of that pie. So if we have a problem with the county police department, Kent has its little voice over here, while all the other towns have to agree with us to be able to hold them accountable. I, for one, am vehemently opposed to it, and I urge you guys to be the same.
Well, and that's what I was saying, John. This is just at such an early stage. And I have to say, if this grows into a discussion of consolidation of other services that are kind of easily consolidatable and that'll really benefit us, I think that's a good thing. But even if this town board, and I would say that probably this town board might not vote to go along, even if it is the recommendation that we consolidate our police force, we dissolve them, we have them, absorbed into this other new police force. it's going to be up to the residents of this town, and that's what I think it should be,
And
because
another-
I think that these are issues that affect us all, and once people have, once people have the information, that they can make a reasoned determination, I think people in this town do pretty well. Term limits,
I agree.
we left up to the people, and, the people came out, and people really thought about it and supported something that even members of this town board that may not have supported the right of people to decide. So,
What my concern is as we've seen in the past in this town and in other places, is that information gets spoon-fed, okay? This study, I believe, was performed, and I'm trying to find the actual documentation of it. But this study was pretty much done a couple of years ago, and if we were to consolidate, then that would mean that every law enforcement body that becomes absorbed now has to be brought up in salary and benefits to the highest benefits. So does that
and
mean
that's
now?
not the town of Kent, I can tell you that.
No. So that means all of a sudden, by my estimation, we have 25 guys or 20 sworn officers on here. Everybody gets a $10,000 raise. Who absorbs that? I mean, that's it. Now to do this, as I understand it, you have to open it up for a county charter change, which, hey, if there's a county charter change, then let's put a couple more things in there. So that could be a positive or a negative. These are just questions that I ask you to please bring up. Because as a taxpayer in this town, I have a problem with this.
Absolutely, and as I said, the chief and I will be attending these meetings, and we'll certainly bring all the information back to town residents at town board
I
meetings.
appreciate it.
First I've heard of it. Don't know.
It's a daytime meeting, yeah. I received, a letter inviting me to come to the meeting and saying that it was going to be the sheriff, the chiefs, and supervisors and mayors. I would imagine.
Where is it?
It is in the conference room of the county executive.
I just want to also reiterate, I don't have enough information to form any opinion. I also did call our chief out of respect for our department to see what his questions may or may not be. Because as John says, who's decided what, everybody knows it's a done deal. Neighbors come, people ask, and, we know that not to be the case. But I would ask that when you go and discuss, or any other board member discusses the town of Kent's role in any type of discussion, that we remember that we've all sacrificed for the police department that we have. That we have a bond for that building. That we have assets, we
Yes.
have cars. We also have pension liabilities, so there's a lot to balance.
Yes, the chief has mentioned all of these issues to me as well. I had that discussion last week.
So that there, we have an asset, we have a liability that has to be weighed. We have a value, we have an appreciable value to what we have. So before it is considered to be dismantled, we have to, in our figures,
Absolutely.
from our town, not a consultant, not somebody paid by somebody else, decide what our value is.
Oh, absolutely.
And what our
Absolutely.
liability is.
And these discussions are so preliminary.
They are very preliminary,
You
and I'm
know.
not taking a position one way or another. I've lived in this town for probably 35 years now. I've always tried to support that long, right? I've always tried to support the police department, and I support a discussion in consolidation of any
Absolutely.
level, but I also don't want to assume that the town is going to take a position of just a consolidation with the sheriff. I think there should be maybe a three-prong approach. I think there should be a consolidation with perhaps the sheriff's department, a countywide police force, and then the town of Carmel, and this the chief did tell me, the town of Carmel and the town of Kent make up half of the population of Putnam County. And again, we've met our tax problems, built a new police department, built this. The town of Carmel's having some difficulty now. Does it benefit us to maybe do a multi-force department for the two towns for half of the county? I don't know. I don't know what their assets or their liabilities are, what they bring to the table, but I see 3 discussions here. Or no, 4, and leave it alone. It ain't broke, don't fix it. If we're gonna fix it with the sheriff, fix it with the county, or fix it with the multi-policing agencies for our 2 towns. You know, just every idea open. I mean,
Oh,
any
absolutely.
point of a discussion is a good discussion of everything without a preconceived track that we would go down.
You know, I'm a member of the county's Fiscal Vision and Accountability Committee, and we had a meeting last month with the undersheriff talking about one of the things, you know, that everybody's looking at is overtime and, you know, school district costs and the costs of the sheriff's department. And we were having a discussion about, you know, special officers and costs, and a legislator who shall remain nameless, but not one of our town's representatives, did say at this meeting, well, you know, one of the ways to cut costs in the sheriff's department is, you know, Kent and Carmel have their own police departments, so maybe we cut back patrols there. And I thought I was, my Irish really got up. I thought I was going to kind of lose my mind. And I said, we're very happy with our police department in the town of Kent. And if you want to cut patrols, then just cut our taxes by that much, and the people in the town of Kent will be very happy. Kind of shut them up a little, but there are so many issues. I mean, this is, you
It's
know.
a multi-pronged.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They're talking about consolidations, your fiscal vision committee. Are the schools at the table?
Well, I mean, that's.
One superintendent?
And that's something that I've brought up at a number of the meetings. I mean, you know, how many superintendents, how many assistant principals, how many, you know, I mean, we are a county of, 100,000 people? And we have, how many school districts? I mean,
6.
only 6? Yeah, I mean, everybody has, you know.
I think it's 6.
Garrison, yeah. The other thing, and I wasn't even going to bring this up tonight, but Joyce has it. And if you go to the county personnel site, there's a civil service exam for custodian. Yeah, civil service.
I want my son to put in for it, $64,000.
But that's only in town of Carmel.
Yeah.
That's only the Carmel School District. It's
50,000 in
$50,000
Mahopac.
something for the Mahopac.
Yeah.
Why are we almost 15,000 more for the same position, same job, same qualifications? You're not the head custodian. I'm not objecting that somebody should make a good living. I mean, 50,000 to raise a family and live here, you need it. But why is the town of Kent, well, the Carmel School District, 14,000 some odd more?
I don't know.
So there you go again. I mean, let's consolidate salaries,
Absolutely.
you know, for one position, but we could go on forever.
There you
But
go.
I just would like the police force looked at, ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, sheriff,
You know-
individual, multi, there's more than one. And we have an
Absolutely.
asset. We bring more.
We have a
to the
huge
discussion.
asset here.
Absolutely.
And I think it's very important that as a town board and a member of this town board, that I can pick up a phone, I can talk to the chief anytime, and I do it. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good. But, well, my phone call to you wasn't very
you,
nice
maybe. It's
today.
always
But at the same time, we have a connection, and that's important, because I'm getting questions, and people are talking to me about, you know, well, the police department is it, you know, whatever the situation is, and I can pick up a call. I can pick up a phone and just call Alex and say.
And there's a value to that.
And there's a huge value, because then I can call the resident and say, well, this is what the chief said.
But I also think that a healthy discussion where we don't have preconceived notions, and I said this to Alex, if at the end of the day, the math says that to keep you the way it is, the town the town police department costs me an extra $30 a month, I'm probably good for you. If it's cost me an extra $800 a month, we need to talk, okay? And that's what we need to know. What's it
Absolutely.
costing us? But I also think we have the biggest asset.
Oh,
Town
absolutely.
of Carmel seems to be driving this train or asking us to get on it, but we need to determine what the value and asset that we have in our department is, and we should have a very strong voice to present that asset as a good model for change, or that we have an asset that we want to leave alone, but we shouldn't come in as a under bargaining because we're the smallest town.
Absolutely
I think we
not.
have the best police department.
I think we do as well.
In this county.
We definitely do. We definitely
Joyce?
do.
Doug wants to speak too.
Oh, okay.
Joyce Mitchell, Kent resident, and I'm looking definitely at Chief Deviani, who knew at one time when I first moved here and started getting interested in local budgets, I was shocked to see that a third of, and now more a third of our total town budget was devoted to the police department. It seemed to me, why did this community need that kind of enforcement? What was there? And then I fell down a flight of stairs, and I can't even count or say thank you enough to the people who were there. The police, the fire department, all kinds of emergency people. I felt like the Queen of England, and that's what we like. And all of us like. And it's nice to know your cops by first name and wave at each other on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But the attraction of consolidation loses that. It loses some of that personal contact. I know that some of the people in Kent Fiscal Watch have researched and found that the consolidation of 5 of the 6 school districts in Putnam County would result in the absolute cancellation of all existing employment contracts and building new ones throughout the new district. It's possible that the county executive that may apply to the police departments too. I don't know that to be true, but I suspect that may be a motivation for looking at this also. Because if you just pick up all the obligations of each police department and lump them into one, I don't think it makes any benefit for anybody, and you lose that personal touch. So there are a lot of issues, and I hope that when you sit down with this group and discuss it, that all these issues will be looked at.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, the fact that this town does have a very professional police department certainly, you know, plays into it. I mean, we're very lucky in the town of Kent, and I don't think that we're going to go to the table as beggars or as, you know, that we're not going to have our voices heard, because clearly our concerns are, you know, very important. And, you know, we've been able in the town of Kent, I mean, one of the things that, you know, we've done, even though our police department is a large part of our budget, we've been able to keep our costs down. I mean, you know, when I met with the chief when we were preparing the preliminary budget and when we were preparing the tentative budget, there wasn't a lot of fat in our budget. We run a lean, well-managed operation, and so we know how to do it in Kent, and unfortunately maybe they don't know how to do it in Carmel, and that's why their costs are so high and they're having such issues. But we've been able to do it, so we're going to be a very strong voice at this table.
Well, I
assure you.
hope.
And we could always ask to opt out.
I just wanted to ask, maybe somebody knows the answer to this. If the county executive has the legal power to pull together a conversation of this sort and a study of this sort, does she also have, and we have a representative of the legislature sitting in the back there, put you on the spot, Tony, does she also have the right to organize such a study having to do with school conversion? The same things, consolidation of the school districts? No. No, they're independent, in other words, of that.
We would love that. I think that would be an
That's where they need
excellent
to
study.
look. That's where they need
And
to
I mean,
look.
that's the biggest part of all of our taxes is our school.
We all know that, and a lot of us feel that there's a lot of waste there and a lot of bloating and
We just
so
can't
on.
force them to the table.
There's no way to do that. Well, I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Good, Doug.
Yes, Doug Holly again. I don't believe in consolidation.
You have to talk to the mic.
Could you talk into the
Yes.
mic, sir?
I don't believe in consolidation with the police department. I mean, really simply, it's our town, it's our police department. There's never been, you know, I mean, you take a look at other areas, stuff like this. Bottom line of it is, we got a really good police department, and the bottom line of it is that it might be more in taxes, but what's going to happen later on? I think we're going to be overshadowed by the different towns if we consolidate. That's it.
Thank you. Cliff?
Cliff Narby, property owner, resident, and taxpayer of the town of Kent. Madam Supervisor, I think you spoke very well about this whole issue, and some of the other speakers have also. I'm an advocate of, looking at consolidation. I think that in a small county of 100,000 people, there's a lot of room for this. And what I would like to stress is, if at all possible, the people who are charged with this study try and take the 30,000-foot view and leave out all the emotion about how nice it is to be picked up by a local cop when you fall and hurt your foot. The fact of the matter is that you said we're lucky to be served by such a good police force. Well, we are, but we pay for it. I mean, before you drop off to sleep, as I reiterate what I've said to you before on this subject.
I stay awake through all the town board meetings, Cliff.
Yeah, no, but I know it's tiresome to hear me say the same, flap my gums about the same thing over and over again. Town of Kent population, 2010 census, 13,500. Mill rate per thousand for the town budget. This is just for town expenses, including police, highway, etc. Assessor. $7.90 per $1,000 of assessed value. Town of Patterson, population 12,000, mill rate $4.49. Town of Putnam Valley, population 11,800, mill rate $4.98. Kent and Putnam Valley have very little commercial assessment. Patterson has some that helps their rate down. I have a house that's assessed at $306,000. I've said this to you before. If I could push it into Putnam Valley, my town taxes, so this doesn't save me anything on school or county taxes, my town taxes would go down by $900 a year. Some of that $900 is paying for a local police force, which is fine. If the residents choose that, as you've pointed out, they should have the opportunity to say whether they want that police force, and if they do want it, they should pay for it. And that's what we're doing right now. So if we leave the emotions out and say, this is a very good subject, not just for police forces, but yes, tax receiver, assessor, highway department, lots of areas that could be maybe run by one central body. Yeah, it's if there could be less government. Let's face it, there are 10 police forces active in the county of Putnam. 10. State, county, town of Carmel, town of Kent, village of Brewster, village of Cold Spring, the MTA, the state DEC, the city DEP, and, oh my God, the state Farnstock Park Police. Every one of those law enforcement officers can enforce the law. You have to wonder, what the hell is it about Putnam County that requires all this enforcement? We're actually a pretty homogeneous lot, lower middle class, I would say. There's not a lot of crime here. Yeah, Penny's spoken, and Bill has too, about the drug problem that we have. But having multiple police forces doesn't really address that. Because what you've got with multiple police forces is duplication of command, of administration, of equipment and facilities. Yeah, what will we do with our lovely building down there? It's an asset. Sell it. What will we do with the extra police cars we don't need? Sell them. So anyway, if at all possible, if you're our representative, if you can, get aside from the emotions and get a really good study done. That's what I think we should do, and then people can make
Oh,
their
absolutely.
decision based on
And
that.
I have to say, I mean, I think that our job as town board members is to take that out of the equation, that you do what you find is best for the community after, study and consideration. And, you do take the emotion out of it because people might go to the voting booth and be emotional, but I think when we sit up here, we have to present the facts to people, we have to present the discussions and let people come to their own conclusions. And, I think that that's something I can pretty easily do. I don't let